Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for some death metal coming from the United Kingdom. Obviously, I'm not a British citizen, so my British impression is pretty fucked. So let's just skip that part and move to a band called Death Kommander. This is obviously death metal and with a war theme, as you can pretty much figure it out. There is a tank, there is a trench, and that pretty much guides you to the world of Death Kommander. This is the second album. I featured the first album a few years ago when it came out. That had quite some nice ideas, but the execution wasn't really that catchy. Unfortunately, some of the same things really apply to the second album. There are lots of good things, but there are also, let's say, a little bit lukewarmish things, which makes this a little bit of unbalanced release. The style, yes, now you are thinking of UK and war-themed death metal. Obviously that brings us to the world of Ball Thrower, and I wouldn't really be surprised if these guys were actually inspired by this legendary band, one of my all-time death metal favorites. And to be honest, this album starts nicely, bringing me, to the mindset of Ball Thrower in so many ways. But first, let's skip this to the early days. 2018. The band started and there was a demo. 3 years later, there was this album, Pro Patria Mori. Now, 4 years later, Never to Grow Old. I find, for some reason, this title very, weird. It almost sounds like, there is a darker aspect, obviously. Never to grow old means, obviously, you're going to die young and all that stuff. So in that sense, it's a very dark, bleak title for an album through the 8 tracks and 31 minutes. But somehow it's also like, makes me think of some pop music. Now, musically, like I said, this is very much going back to the world of a Ball Thrower in so many ways. First of all, there are these mid-tempo riffs, kind of dark, but kind of a very basic death metal. It's like taking me back to the maybe around second and third album by Ball Thrower, these Realm of Chaos and War Master. Then there are a little bit of these melodies, of course, which Ball Thrower was famed for, at least later on, when they started going a little bit more into melodic sense, after especially, albums like, Fourth Crusade and all. So this is roughly where the second, third, and maybe the fourth album comes into play. So kind of a dark, but also those palm meter riffs and all that stuff. Nothing really hits the technical buttons here. So it's more like just let the tanks roll and deliver you those death metal things. And like I said, especially early on the album, you feel like, okay, this is very, very much in the, closing in with what Ball Thrower had to do. Then again, at some point, this takes a little bit of weird turn. Not maybe necessarily wrong turn, but kind of goes or steers away from this thing what makes this strong. And that's where it drops the ball. Now, mind you, this doesn't mean it's bad by no means, but there are parts where I feel mediocrity is quite a bit present, and unfortunately that is not something that gets me the right kind of feeling how this album started. So pretty much like the first one, you have the decent production, you have the basic good growly vocals, and sometimes these Ball Thrower-ish feelings, but there are these moments where it just feels like, what are these guys doing? Did they lose the ideas where it goes strong? And then you have some of the better ideas once again where it goes strong and all. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag of goodies in that sense. Sure, the style is always intact. There are no fundamental flaws of such nature that it would be weird or just like, what the hell are these guys doing? But in terms of quality, it's a bouncy road. There are parts, like I said, where you really enjoy it and you're like, okay, these are now getting better after the first album. And then the parts that just kind of let you down. It's almost like the tank is running out of gasoline and you have to wait. So these moments when nothing really that interesting is happening feel kind of like letdowns in that sense. However, if you are into old school death metal and you don't mind the lack of originality or lack of that push or impact every now and then, totally go for it. I think it totally deserves its attention and listening and all that stuff. But I wish these guys would just push a little bit the quality up, and meaning like next time, hopefully, there are no filler parts. It's just pure killing tanks, fire, blitzkrieg, all that stuff. Crazy warfare, and that's where they would start nailing it. But it's only 2 albums in, so give it a little bit of time, and the band, I'm sure, will get better. After all, that's exactly what happened to Boulder. Starting strong, but then getting better and better over the albums. And I think that's exactly where Death Kommander is heading to as well. Or at least one can only hope for. Now, off you go. Give it a listen. Links provided in the description box. Off you go. Bye-bye.